I just want to make sure that you didn't miss the real sign. Okay.
Hey everyone, just one last call for sign-up sheets over there if you want to sign up and speak about anything that's on the agenda today. Staff, are you ready? I'd like to call to order the May 5th, 2025 Richland County Planning Commission meeting. Staff, please confirm the following. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, a copy of the agenda was sent to the news media, persons requesting a notification, and posted on the bulletin board located in the County Administration Building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, staff. Staff, can you please take attendance for today's meeting?
All right, attendance for the Monday, May 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Yonke,
Here.
Farson,
Here.
Johnson, Duffy, Metz,
Here.
Durant,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Sirks,
Here.
Grady.
Here.
We'll have quorum.
Thank you, staff. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Cinco de Mayo festivities here at Richland County. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to the May 5th, 2025 Richland County Planning Commission meeting. As planning commissioners, we are concerned residents of Richland County who volunteer our time to thoroughly review and make recommendations to County Council. Our recommendations are to approve or deny zoning map amendment requests. Per Title VI, Chapter 29 of the SE Code of Laws, Planning Commission may also prepare and revise plans and programs for the development or redevelopment of unincorporated portions of the county. The Land Development Code rewrite process conducted last year is an example of this. Once again, we are a recommending body to County Council, and they will conduct their own public hearing and take official votes to approve or deny map amendments and text amendments on a future date to be published by the county. The council typically holds zoning public hearings on the fourth Tuesday of each month. Please check with the county website for updated agenda, dates, and times. Please take note of the following guidelines for today's meeting. Please turn off or silence any cell phones. Audience members may come and go quietly as needed. Applicants are allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. Citizens are also allowed 2 minutes, and redundant comments should be minimized. Please only address remarks to the commission and do not expect the commission to respond to questions from the speakers in a back and forth style. That's not the purpose of this meeting. Please, no audience speaker exchanges. No audience demonstrations or other disruptions to the meeting are permitted, nor are comments from anyone other than the speaker at the podium. Please remember the meeting is being recorded. Please speak into the microphone and give your name and address. Abusive language is inappropriate, will not be tolerated. Please don't voice displeasure or frustration at a recommendation while the Planning Commission is still conducting business. If you have any questions or concerns, you may contact the wonderful Richland County Planning Department staff down here. This moves us to number 3 on our agenda, which is additions, deletions. Staff, are there any additions or deletions to our agenda today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Item 7, which is headed as 2025 Land Development Code Updates Action. That item, I believe at your last meeting, it was decided to move that from, at your April planning commission meeting, it was decided that that matter would have been deferred to the June meeting, not the May, so it was erroneously placed on the agenda. However, so we can just defer that to the June meeting.
Any other changes?
No, sir.
Do we need to make a motion and pass that updated agenda? Since it's a typo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The chair makes a motion to update the agenda for our May 5th, 2025 meeting to remove number 7. Do we have a second? Second, Commissioner Metz? Thank you. Staff, can you please take a vote?
All right, those in favor of the motion to adopt the agenda as amended, Yonke,
Aye.
Frierson,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Durant.
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
Grady.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes.
Thank you, staff. Takes us to number 4. Approval of the minutes from prior meetings. The staff provided the commission with copies of the transcripts of the commission's February, the full transcription now, and April 2025 meetings. Do any commissioners have any comments or concerns regarding these transcripts? Okay, hearing none, the chair makes a motion to approve these minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Durant. Staff, can you please take a vote?
And this motion is for both minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion for the approval of the February 3rd, 2025, and the April 7th, 2025 minutes of the Planning Commission. Those in favor, Yonke,
Aye.
Frierson,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
and Grady.
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thanks again, staff. This moves us to item number 5, which is our consent agenda, and I'd like to explain it for the public. It's an action item that allows the commission to approve road names and map amendments where the staff recommends approval, but now we say the master plan says compliant in the agenda, and no one from the public has signed up to speak against the amendment, or no commissioner has any need for further discussion. Ms. Frierson, do we have any cases that would go for the consent agenda today?
We do have someone signed up to speak on each of the cases.
I don't see anyone signed up against for the Wilson Boulevard. Anyone miss the
Correct.
sign-up sheet? Okay, hearing none from the crowd. The chair makes a motion to pass the consent agenda, including, there are no road names in our packet this month. So including 5B1, which is case number 25-018MA, with the recommendation of compliant with the comp plan. Do we have a second for the consent agenda?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Metz. That would go to approval for county council for that map amendment.
That's
Sta-
correct.
Staff, could you please take a vote for the consent agenda?
All right, those in favor of the consent agenda, Yonke,
Aye.
Frierson,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
and Grady.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes.
Great, thanks, staff.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as you stated earlier, typically council holds their zoning public hearing meetings on the 4th Tuesday of each month. However, for the May agenda, the zoning public hearing will be held on the 20th, which will be the 3rd Tuesday at 7 p.m. in council.
May
chambers.
20th, 7 p.m., these council chambers right here.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that places us at item 5B2 in agenda, case number 25-020. I'll flip it over to staff.
All right, as stated, the next item is case 25-020MA. The applicant is Ryan Holmes. And the location is in the general area of 180 Killian Road. the applicant is requesting to rezone 105.88 acres, which is currently zoned a mixture of AG, which is agricultural, RT, residential transition, and HM homestead, to residential 3, which is R3. It has been deemed that the request is non-compliant with the guidelines and objectives of the comprehensive plan. As you'll note that the staff does have the conclusions found on page 16 of your agenda. Kind of looked at a number of items here. Mainly the parcels in the area is designated as neighborhood low density according to the comprehensive plan. And so the R3 zoning designation does not support the objectives and guidelines that the neighborhood low density recommends. However, one of the things that we wanted to point out is that that particular stretch of Killian Road also has been identified as a mixed-use corridor. Upon some review of that, this is why as we say often during the planning commission meetings, that the future land use map is broadly painted, and it does require sometimes further review of the area, even though it may have a certain designation. One of the things that we took note of is that I believe this is the only area in the county where you could identify that there was a mixed-use corridor or some type of activity center that was located where a neighborhood low-density designation was also in that area. Also, we wanted to point out that while the mixed-use corridor has been designated in this area, that previous map amendment requests have been denied that would have supported a mixed-use corridor. And also, in addition, there are no improvements that have been identified for this area that would also support a mixed-use corridor designation. So along with those, it's been determined that the request would be non-compliant with the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, staff. Ernest, do we have any questions for staff? Ryerson, do we have anyone sign up to speak?
Yes, we have Dwayne Brasilio.
Come on down. Both podiums are open. Speak in the microphone and please start with your name and address.
Dwayne Brazel, 220 Killian Road, Columbia, South Carolina. I've always heard if you don't speak, your voice is not heard, so that's why I'm here. That property adjacent's mine. In the past month, they have surveyed it, butts up right up next to my property. I can just say, from the 1,000-year flood, when Killian Road, the water came over Killian Road, since then, cause of development in the areas, possibly Scout Motors and other development, that road, just thunderstorms, Killian Road has blowed out, and that's a major road right down from Wawa. That road has blowed out twice since then. That's my property. My property is full of debris and stuff from the road, from that where, if we allow this to happen and you take out all them trees of that 100 acres and all, I feel it's gonna be worse. All they do is come in there and patch the road a little bit the best they can. The next storm, it's gonna happen again. Not to consider all the wildlife and all that I've grown accustomed to. I know I'm speaking to myself and all, but I do think a major development, they've already talking 1,000 houses behind me or 1,000 behind me in that area. And if you just keep moving into that area, the roads can't take it. It's not gonna take all that. I could speak on other things, cause I know I'm speaking on myself, but, the road and the infrastructure is not gonna be able to handle it.
Thank you, sir. What up?
Next person is Sandra Sims.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Sims, and I live at 167 Pleasant View Road in Blythewood. And I'm calling because of the concern, and I did tell Mr. Brazil that Killian Road, I have to get to Killian Road, go to Killian Road to get almost anywhere from my place. And that road, if we're not gonna do serious infrastructure to it and then put another 100, 200 houses in that area, the flood continues to happen, like he said, and I'm just dittoing what he said because it's amazing. He and I have never met each other. We've never talked about this situation, but we're here for the same concern, and that is building that amount of houses in that space between Killian and Wilson Boulevard will be detrimental if the infrastructure is not first put in and then allowed. I'm not saying not build the houses, but I'm saying without the proper infrastructure, we're gonna have a whole lot more damage to the roads and flooding in that space because not this last time, but the time prior to, when we had a real hard rain about 2 or 3 months ago, that road was out for 10 days before it got fixed. And this time it was out for a whole day, one day, because they tried to get it fixed, but it's just a patch. It's not fixed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sims was the last person who signed up to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Firestone. Anyone else missed the sign-up sheet for this? Oh, okay. Commission, this is now on the floor for discussion. I have a question for staff. Can you show us Killian Road on the map and where it changes? I know it has 4 lanes and then it goes down to 2. Thank you. Right by the Tractor Supply. Okay. And the property in question is further west. Yes, please put the flood layers on. Thank you. Comment I have as someone who's volunteered since 2019. There's been several map amendments that come before us in this area. The map kind of tells the story of the flood there. Is it called Crescent? Yeah, Crescent Lake. And that's what happened in the 1,000-year flood. Some big issues there. Different neighbors have come out for different properties that would abut that neighborhood or that road that also lacks infrastructure. And for the Plan Commission, we only look at the zoning. We depend on South Carolina DOT like everyone else. That's my comment.
Question.
Commissioner Taylor.
Looking at page 20, I just want to make sure I got it correct. Are there 3 or 4 parcels? 1, 2, 3. Is it 4 parcels that are being requested?
Yes, sir.
And is it one zoning designation, strictly HM to R3, which is a heading on page 20?
So,
Or is it more in line with page 14, that shows 3 existing zonings.
So there's a mixture of zonings that encompass the 4 parcels that you have, so you're correct. On what you have on page 14, these parcels are zone R, AG, HM, and RT.
Thank you.
Here.
Yes, Commissioner Grady?
Question for staff. So we discussed the conclusion of your report here at some length. I guess my main question would be, as it pertains to the second paragraph in it, is staff essentially recommending to us and county council that in a future comprehensive plan that this mixed-use corridor designation be removed? Is that what's being articulated, or is it just I guess I'm trying to figure out how to interpret the fact that, as you said, there are 2 future land use designations that are very different in character. And I would just like some further context from staff on how that got disentangled.
Right. So the intent was not to suggest that you do anything at this point. What we wanted to do was point out to you that there does seem to be a bit of a conflict in this area. And also based on the history of zonings in this area, that we have not done, gone either way to support the mixed-use corridor. So we want you to take all of those things into consideration for the request that you have before you, but it's also recommended, now this is what we'll recommend, that we do take a look at the number of cases and where they're taking place in the county, especially in a situation like this, as we go through the update of our new comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any further comments, discussion?
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Metz?
could staff go back to the map and put on the zoning layer for the different colors? I'm having a hard time with this one.
I think my commissioners are trying to figure out the colors over there. So I believe the dark green is going to be AG.
Chair,
Yes.
sorry, I'm red green colorblind, so it's great to look at this.
Oh, man. Apologies.
Can you point out the RT section, please?
General 2, Commissioner Metz, it's based off the sizes. Mhm. The chair would also take any motions at this moment, too. Question for staff. What's going on south of the property in question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you find on page 17 of your packet, under the conclusion would be the last paragraph, where we talk about that that's a plan development, that, and we kind of give a breakdown on it. Again, I will just read this into the record, that PDD aligns with the intended development pattern for the neighborhood low-density designation, which supports residential and non-residential uses. This development is approved for a maximum of 378 single-family medium-density units, 260 multifamily high-density units, 44 single-family high-density units, 4 neighborhood commercial units, 18 office institutional units, and 6 general commercial outparcels, which are all situated on a 305.5 acre tract. There's a good portion of this property that is encumbered by flood zone. It's also found that the designated commercial and the multifamily areas of the planned development would fall within the neighborhood commercial activity center. And thus those requests would be consistent with the development guidelines of the comprehensive plan for that particular area.
Map on page 21, the neighborhood activity center. So that parcel is in that general paintbrush
Yes,
you mentioned.
A portion of, yes,
Yes.
a portion of that property, the part that encompasses the commercial and the high-density multifamily use.
So this comp plan that I'm excited to help update this year, 2025. The one we're looking at is from 2015, adopted March 17th, 2015, before the Great Flood and what changed this area. And we do see the contradictory nature with the pale yellow behind the activity center and the mixed use corridor.
Yes, sir.
Lean on the commission for a motion. We could take it from there. There's only 2 ways we usually take these. And then we could just see how the vote falls. So the chair suggests any further discussion or a motion. Come on, Commissioner Grady.
Mr.
I
Chair?
see you thinking. Go ahead.
I will make a motion to send this case 25-020MA to County Council with a recommendation of disapproval for the reasons stated by staff in their report.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second, quick second from Commissioner Sirks. For recommendation of disapproval, staff, could you please take a vote on that motion?
All right, we have a motion for the disapproval of case 25-020MA. Those in favor of that motion, Grady,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Frierson,
Aye.
Yonke.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Thank you, staff. May 20th, 7 p.m., council chambers. County Council will take this up. Thank you.
There's a good chance that that case may be deferred. Actually, both of them may be deferred. As the tradition of Councilwoman Barron of District 7, who represents this area, she likes to have town hall meetings for her cases. So there's a good chance that these may be deferred until the June zoning public hearing. However, we'll notify the applicant.
Thank you, staff. Commissioner Taylor? You have
I didn't
comment?
want to muddy the waters beforehand, but just a quick question. Do we normally have in the explanation when there are planned DOT improvements? Or is that usually a part of the explanation as well most times?
Yes, just above the conclusion, just typically above the conclusion, we have the traffic characteristics. And usually there's usually the last sentence will tell you or notify you if there are any planned improvements for this particular area.
Thank you.
So, as you, I'll say, hey, you know what, we have a little time today.
No, we don't.
I don't want y'all to get too used to leaving early. No, but, you know, we're continuing to try to evolve with our conclusions to you, and not just compliant with the comp plan and move on. So we're trying to point out a few more things. I think as Mr. Grady was kind of took note to, that the decisions you make really should be viewed not just for that parcel, but for that particular area as we go forward, and especially as we go to make updates or to our comprehensive, upcoming comprehensive plan.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. We will keep moving to number 6 on our agenda tonight, which is the overlay district. We did just come out of a work session before this, where staff gave us some great information. I think we'll get a quick highlight from staff. We do have someone sign up to speak on this, but we'll have staff explain first, and then, yes.
All right, so in regards to the Olympia neighborhood character overlay, particularly the text, there have been a number of changes as a result of the work session that differs from the draft that the public had previously seen. In the work session, we mainly address some differing philosophies, as well as clearing up some inconsistencies that we had previously had in the draft, particularly addressing standards that went against or were not consistent with the purpose statement of the Olympia character overlay, as well as affirming the constraints of the overlay, and that it is applicable only to features that are visible from the public right-of-way. So we addressed standards that we felt did not align with that constraint, as well as generally clearing up some various grammatical errors, as well as clarifications. Some of the main, or I can go over some of the main highlights, but I'll also say that the version that came out of the work session will be presented to the public prior to the June Planning Commission meeting, so that members of the public who have been receiving the updates and have been following the plan, they'll be sent out the latest version, as well as the version will be put on the Richland County website. And so some of the main highlights that came about had to do with the location of buildings on the lot, and that the prior draft had buildings with restrictions to all setbacks, front, rear, side setbacks. Rather, the new updates as a result of the work session, we considered the front setback to be the main source of the neighborhood character, and remove the other setbacks in the standards. Additionally, in regards to building massing, rather than have a standard in the neighborhood character overlay itself, the massing, we believe, was controlled based on restrictions to the building height as well as the setback restrictions that are within the overlay as well as the setbacks in the underlying zoning. And besides that, just a clarification of the language and reaffirming that the overlay is applicable to what is visible from the public right-of-way. Any standards that were inconsistent with that were either removed or reworded. And then finally, in regards to parking, we clarified that any new builds in the neighborhood would have to identify their street parking in order to ensure that it was compliant with the Land Development Code's off-street parking requirements, and ensuring that any parking provided on the site would not be in front of the house, but rather would be restricted to the driveway or in the rear of the lot, not visible from the public right-of-way. And like I said, these updates will be presented in a clean version to the public and to Planning Commission if it's not voted on today.
Thank you, staff, for your hard work on this one. I'll hand this open over to the public for public comment, and then we'll be able to have any further commission discussion. Ms. Frierson?
Yes, we have Ms. Vi Hindley, who signed up to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the time to be able to address you once again.
And begin with your name and address.
I keep forgetting this. Viola Hindley, 104 Alabama Street, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. Once again, an over 40-year resident of the Olympia Mill Village. The size of buildings and the setbacks from the side and to the rear, I guess I'm just not really clear on that. I know that a lot of the new builds have taken advantage of every square foot they have available, so the entire lot ends up being completely filled. So that would be an issue that we might have concern. But let me first say that it's important you all know that trees can support and sequester up to 800 gallons of rainwater per event. That's a lot of stormwater that can be sequestered by a single grand tree, a grand tree being about yay big. Not this big, but this big. So the bigger the tree, of course, the more water they sequester. In the Mill District Plan, we had a section that actually addressed preservation of grand trees in the neighborhood because we are part of the Rocky Branch Watershed, which is a downtown drain for 5 Points, Martin Luther King Park, all the way from Taylor Street, Pickens, on down, and all that water comes our way. The more trees we lose, the less water is sequestered, and thus more flooding occurs. So we have asked that within the district, the overlay, that perhaps grand trees in terms of new development as well as our street trees be preserved, and every effort made to be able to protect those trees during construction. For example, we had a developer come in just recently, and I'm not kidding you, y'all. A tree this big round, I could not get around it. It was about this big, took it to the ground without a consideration. And it wasn't even in the middle of his property, it was on the edge. So we would ask that you consider, if it's brought to your attention, and it can be placed in the overlay, protections during construction and any renovations for the grand trees, which are of a certain size and a certain value to stormwater management. And that's all. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Give this back up to staff to comment.
Yes, so we do not currently have in the draft any protection of grand trees. However, we do have a landscaping section. We didn't necessarily think that the overlay was the place to put in particular tree protections. However, that isn't to say that we could not include them. It can certainly be construed as a part of the neighborhood character, and it may be appropriate. So if that's a direction that Planning Commission wants to go in, then we can consider the feasibility of adding those types of protections to the landscaping section of the overlay.
What section is the landscaping section?
So that's section.
Thank you.
Yep. And within the land development code, we also have our tree protections in section on page 5-51 in section 26-5.3 is the land development code's landscaping section. So if the overlay, if we want to have additional protections beyond what's in the underlying zoning and land development code, the overlay would be the option to explore that.
A corner of the land development code that I probably not spent a lot of time on, but we do have landscaping and some tree protection for all of the county. Is that what you guys are referencing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So, and there are certain provisions on the size of the trees. We do have a 6-to-1 replacement ratio for any grand trees that are taken out of required buffer yards. There are some exemptions, which sounds like maybe if it's an existing lot of record, and it's not a major or minor subdivision, there are some, there's not necessarily a requirement if you're doing residential next to residential, it's 2 lots of record, to landscape between those. However, if it was deemed to be something like a multifamily and it was adjacent to, say, a single family use, then those buffer yards would come into play at that point.
When we have a map amendment and we change parcels, if they were both like R3s, but then it changes to something else, that becomes a factor, the landscaping between the different zones. Okay?
So yeah, once it comes to development, so say if you were, just arbitrarily pick one, R1, single lot of record, and then you change it to commercial, industrial, office use, or a zoning that would permit that, when that would come into develop, they would be required to do certain landscaping buffer widths based upon the proposed use and the existing use.
Thank you, staff. Commission, questions or comments on this neighborhood overlay?
Quick question. Oh, sorry.
This is a quick question.
Commissioner Durant, go ahead.
Are we asking whether staff should go back and consider adding a tree protection section to the overlay?
I think at this moment we're having a discussion about it. We can give them some directives to do so if we feel inclined. Commissioner Taylor?
Kind of in line with that same question, I wasn't sure if, since trees was mentioned in the landscaping section, if any modification to that, much like some of the other edits that happened, would be able to include that, or would it need to be a totally separate section? Or a totally separate document? I thought we even talked about that in our work session a little bit.
So some clarification I got from the zoning administrator, Mr. Price. any protection or the protections that we have would be in regards to development. So any development of the lot is when the protections that we have in the overlay and the land development code would come into effect. Anything beyond that would need to be a separate ordinance or separate regulation.
In other words, if the tree exists there already, we don't have protections using this overlay. But if the parcel is going to be developed, are we saying that's where this comes in?
Correct.
Okay. Come on, Mr. Price. You can go to either podium if you'd like. No, or Ms. Williams. Come on.
Yes, I'll just step in. So the land development code is for major land development. So it would be if, like a new subdivision, a new commercial property, something coming in. There's no current preservation for existing trees on a single lot, saying whether or not you can or cannot cut down that existing tree on a lot if you're doing some work. That is something we can take into consideration. The challenge could potentially be, as ownership changes and people come in, the health of a tree, who's going to determine if keeping the tree is going to, if the work on the lot is going to kill the tree or let the tree continue to live. We would have to do a little bit more research into how we would make sure we manage all of that as part of our overlay as well. Because sometimes you can have larger trees and the work on the lot could result in the death of the tree, and that would need to be taken into consideration in case somebody comes to request to remove a tree as well. And enforcement, turnover on the property. If, the original person left the tree and then they sell the property and someone else comes in and never talks to us and cut down the tree, going out there and having to do enforcement related to that as well.
Thank you. Vince. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns, Commission? Would we like to come up with a directive for staff? I suggest that we, go ahead, Commissioner Grant.
Just clarification, come up with a directive for staff with respect to tree preservation?
To the overlay in general.
Overlay in general.
Yes.
Thank you.
I feel like you did a good job, staff, cleaning out the document from the last time we saw it. So I think, as we discussed in our work session, present us next month with the clean copy so that the public can look at that, review it. The public can come and speak again, and I would suggest we can make an official motion at that point. What does my commission think about that? Nods to my right, head nods in the crowd. Okay, all right, does this need to be an official motion? To give a directive to staff?
Just again, to address what we talked about in the work session, if you'd like to make a motion to accept the changes that were discussed in the work session, you can do this now, and that could be put in the clean copy we present to you in June.
Thank you, staff. The chair looks for a motion for what she said.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sirks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Durant. I can't make all the motions. I don't want to do that. All right, staff, can you please take a vote to accept the changes and have it presented back to us next month?
All right, Grady,
Aye.
Sirks,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Durant,
Aye.
Frierson,
Aye.
Yonke.
Aye.
All right, motion is approved for deferral to June.
Thank you, staff. 7 was removed, so now we're on 8. Other items? Commissioners, we have any other items for discussion for this meeting?
Chair, if we could step back for 1 second, I have a question.
Yes.
Going back to the tree protection issue, would we need to make a motion for staff to consider adding that to the overlay?
Again, depends if we want to do that now or we want to look at it as an updated, clean document. But what do we want to do?
No, I was just, it's only asking whether, asking staff to consider it, not to add anything. And the timing of it, I don't.
Staff, would you look into the tree protections as you present the clean copy? Thank you. Does that have to be an official motion?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Because you're just asking us to look into it and
Yes,
consider it.
of course, thank you. Okay, now the chair's gonna continue on. We're good with item 6? Yep. Item 7's been deferred. Item 8's other items. Any other items? Seeing head shakes, nothing else. Okay. Item 9, chairman's report. Thank you again, everyone, for coming out. 2 meetings tonight. Appreciate you. Comp plan workshop meetings. I know we were scheduling that for maybe June. There was a group calendar. Any updates on that?
Yes, I did not, I need a couple more responses. Right now, it looks as if we have the most votes for June 16th. That would not be the majority of the commission. We don't have a quorum, so I'll reach out individually to the commissioners I have not heard back from just to find out if June 16th works before we can finalize that date. And at that meeting, while I have the floor and we're talking about the comp plan, just to let you know, the next round that we're currently in of comp plan public meetings are specifically on the future land use map scenarios. So we are presenting 3 different scenarios, asking the public to give comment and feedback on that. So that goes right back to what we talked about with that case and the conflicting land use scenarios. So we do ask for the commission to spread the word, to have people attend those meetings or respond to the survey to help us as we come up with a new future land use map.
We have dates for these meetings?
There's one this Wednesday in Valentine, and because I do not have my phone, I don't have the rest of the dates, but thank you. And we can email that to all the commissioners, but you can go to the website, richlandcountysc.gov/reimagine Richland, and we have all of the dates of the public forums, but the next one is this Wednesday night at the Valentine Community Center.
Is this fairly easy for the public to find on the website?
Yes, there's also a link on the county's homepage.
Okay.
But thank you,
Okay.
Mr. DeLage, for pulling up all of the meeting dates.
If you don't want to go far, we can roll right into number 10, the planning director's report.
Nothing additional to report.
Appreciate you, thank you. I guess a quick exercise, staff, could you go to the homepage of the website and show us where the Reimagine Richland is so we could participate and we can tell the public how to get there? Right there, great. Click learn more. I was here for the land development code rewrite, and getting the information out was difficult to people. People didn't know what was going on, so I want to make sure the public's aware, and I can tell. Thank you. This moves us on to number 11, which is adjournment. I don't think we're going to have a problem with this one. Show of hands for adjournment? Unanimous? Staff has it?
You're good.
All right, thank you.